Going on, sir? How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing well. How you doing, man? It's
I'm
been it's
I'm
been
tired.
it's been
I'm
a
not
few
even gonna
days.
lie
It's
to
been
you.
a few days. Oh, I'm exhausted. Absolutely. I'm just dropped my son off to his afternoon activities.
You know what? I realize, man, we always got to get the people what they want. Always got to get the people what they want. Funny thing is, right?
Yeah.
Question: did you see what your guy, what's his name? What he did? He shut the doors, closed the doors. Ushers closed those doors.
You talking about Sap?
How did he say it, man? What did he say? What did he say? Ushers close the doors. Don't let
Uh,
nobody out.
don't let nobody out, but he asked several times.
I said, close them doors. Ushers, close the doors.
And then he said, well, it's not like you go anywhere. You're not doing anything but going to get something to eat or the buffet or however you put it. I
Correct.
don't.
We all gonna leave together. Y'all ain't going no place but to the restaurant.
I'm
But
like,
but
wait a
he
minute, whoa.
But he had to answer a couple of times because the ushers are like, "Hold on, this bro serious? Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
gonna get me in trouble for that?"
Like you want us to lock the door, shut the door. He didn't say lock the door, but shut the doors. We don't do that here.
Hey, listen, he tried to pull that Lean on Me move. Remember that movie Lean on Me? With
Yes, I do. I do.
he tried to put the chains on the door, man.
Oh man, like what? There was in school again.
Yeah, correct. But
Uh,
the funniest thing to me was the fact that he even told the people online. He tried to threaten to close the doors on the people online. How you gonna close the door online? Like I can't just press in. Like I can't just cut you off. Like how
yeah,
you gonna do that?
right, right. Especially if you got a remote control, all you got to do is just hit
That's it.
change channel,
That's
change
it.
channel.
What's wrong with this man? And and
Oh
and,
my
and,
goodness.
and it was fitting, right? Because we just came off the back of doing this show, black faith versus finance, right? And I
Correct.
thought we was kind of done with that, but it seemed like it don't. It seemed like it just
I
called us
thought
right
we
on
were
back.
done with it too. I really did. I thought we were done. But then all of a sudden, look what pops up. And this was a year ago. This happened last summer.
What
Was
part?
the close the doors.
No, that
This was
happened
in
this
20.
week.
No, man, I think this was in 24, wasn't it?
That was this
Mm.
week. Close the doors. And listen, if y'all watching this and we're wrong, well, one of us got to be right. One of us got to be wrong. Let us know, cause
Yeah,
that happened this week.
definitely.
That's why it went viral.
Okay. I thought it was. I, I could be wrong, but I could be right. So those of us out there, when you hear this, please let us know so we can correct ourselves.
Let me ask you a question, man. What you would have did if you was at that church?
Man, I might have walked out. Man, open
Hold
these
on,
doors.
but it was a big usher at the door trying to tell you ain't going nowhere. Like it was Debo at the door. Debo the usher was at the door. What you gonna do?
Man, listen. Can I get through, please? In the name of God, can I get through?
Hey, I think you would have had to raise that voice a little higher than that.
Oh yeah, oh, that's absolutely. But and it was off for $20.
No, he was asking for $1,000.
No, he was asking 1,000 people for $20. 1,000 people with $20 was 20,000, and
That's
then he
right.
asked for 1,000 people online for $20.
And
That's
that'd
the
have been
40,000.
40,000. Yeah,
Absolutely. Now I'm
yeah.
not saying. Watch this. Now see, this is what baffled me about this whole situation. That little bit of money was able to raise 40 grand. Why couldn't the church teach to take that little bit of money to do something for the community?
Do you know what he was planning on doing with the money?
Oh, nobody knows. I mean, it's not like he had to pay for the event because the church was owned by whatever church he was visiting. It was owned. So what was he planning on doing with the money? He didn't have to pay for an event, a place to host the event.
Oh,
Think about it. He didn't rent anything, and he was just a guest speaker.
close the door.
Close the door.
Wow. So what should he have done with the money? Because that's what we started at. What should he have done with that money? $40,000. Because most likely nobody ever asked if he actually raised it. They just said what he said. But most likely he raised the 40,000 plus more.
Most likely, he definitely raised it 40. Because you remember, he asked 1,000 people in the congregation. Then he asked 1,000 people online. And then he turned around to the deacons. He said, put your checkbook away because I need something like, and please correct me, but he made it seem he was going to ask the deacons behind him for much more than $20. Because remember, he went to the one deacon and said, you're a leader, so you got to lead by an example. Leaders lead. I believe those are the words he used. So I wonder what he was asking the deacons behind him. 100, 200, 300. Maybe he was asking for the 1,000. Who knows?
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
If I wanted to buy an apartment building, how much do I need to put down? What percentage?
Commercial?
Yeah.
What is it? What is commercial? 20%?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, about 20%. So 40,000. That's a $400,000 unit.
No,
That's a
200,000.
yeah,
200,000.
$200,000. Right. But watch this. That's just one day. Imagine. Watch where I go with this. Imagine if on a weekly basis, the church not even going to ask for $20. You're going to ask for $11 every single week from just a few churches.
Let me ask you a question though. I got to cut you off on this.
Go ahead.
No, something came to my mind. If he asking 1,000 people in the church, how many people is actually in the building?
So if he asking because he didn't say everybody, he just said just 1,000 people. I just need 1,000 people. He never said everyone.
Correct.
Oh, he definitely got over 40,000. Just the church. So going back, $11. Just imagine this: $11 from a congregation of 100,000, and that's multiple churches.
Yes.
You know how much that is in 1 week?
That's a lot of money. That is
That's a lot.
a lot of money.
Right. That's a lot of money. Isn't that about 11 million?
Sounds about right.
It's
Well,
about 11
give me
million.
the math. Give me the math right quick. I may not be
Yeah, hold on. 100,000 times 10. 100,000
100,000
times
times
10.
10. So 100,000 people times $10?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's $1 million, right?
Yeah, that's $1 million.
Or is that 10 million? That's $1 million.
That's $1 million.
That's $1 million. Okay, that's
Yeah.
$1 million. Okay, that's just one time. So let's just take $10. 100,000 people, and let's say over a period of not a period, but over 4 mega churches. Now you got $1 million. You need 25%. 20% for an apartment building. Okay. So now you get into
$10 million. You can afford $10 million property.
a $10 million apartment complex. That's 10%. So let's break it. That's no, a million to 10 million. That's 10%.
Yep.
So $5 million.
$5 million. Correct.
Actually, to be exact, $4 million. We're gonna go with 4 million.
Okay.
That's 20%. Okay. So, or yeah, 5 million, whatever. But it doesn't matter. You can do some damage.
You can.
So now you got an apartment building that the church owned. You're renting from the church. Hopefully the church do the right thing. Buy what's that?
Apartment building. Maybe in Atlanta, Georgia, right? Because I think it was in Atlanta.
Okay.
And I think you still get a big bang for your buck in the area.
Georgia? Why Atlanta, Georgia? Why
Cause
not some of these other?
I just said Atlanta because I think that's where he was.
It was in Atlanta. You're right.
Okay.
Okay. But what about some of these other depressed cities? And I only said 100,000 people at $10. 100,000 people is not a lot of people. You do realize that. It's not a lot of people at all. Just giving $10. Doggone it, don't buy a bag of chips that week.
That's right.
If you go to the store, you buy two for what, $7 to $8.
Hold on.
Just add 4 quarters to it, or eight
Hold on.
quarters. Add 8 quarters.
Let me pull a graphic up on what 100 million people look like. Give me a second.
Okay,
So as you're seeing there, man, that's what 100,000 people look like. That's not a lot.
that's not a lot of people.
And so if my goodness. So let's get to the point, right? Let's get to the point, right? You're saying that most likely you can buy a $5 million property
Absolutely.
that you can rent out. I'm assuming rent out, right? Rent out.
Mhm.
Then you can actually create income for that from that property, right?
Absolutely.
But if you break it down, is it really that much money to spread up spread amongst all the people that actually gave the money?
In the short run, no. In the long term, yes. Because now what you do is you do the same thing a month later and go buy another apartment complex somewhere. You do the same thing. Imagine doing that 12 times a
1
month.
year.
I mean, 12 times yeah, 12 times a year. Churches create $1 million. That's all. Mega church is creating $1 million coming together. Though. See, that's the key, coming together. So you know what you know what I come to believe, and I'm not saying all churches. I'm saying a lot of churches. But I'm not saying all churches. And those that are not doing this, please forgive me. Those that are actually teaching financial literacy and want your congregation to get ahead, please forgive me. But a lot of churches, they want to stay up here and keep their congregation down here.
Let me ask you a question, but isn't that the American way? Like, and I'm not trying to mix church and state, right? But what I'm asking is this: hasn't the past what 50 years in the United States been about the rich getting richer and the poor literally dwindling away? And
Oh no,
so,
shame on you. Are you saying the church, the church getting churchier, richer,
ooh,
and
did I
off
say
the
that? I'm
back?
sorry.
Ooh, are you saying? Oh, shame on you. Oh, you need to pray when we get off this call.
No, I'm not saying that. Let me be clear what I'm saying. Let me be clear what I'm saying, okay?
Wait, hold on, hold on. Let me cut you off again. But what you're doing is you are equating church and government.
Yeah,
The richer gets richer with the government,
yeah,
and the poor gets poor.
yeah.
So, so I want to ask you this. So, are you saying the church is being built on poverty, folks? Is that what you're saying?
I would say this and listen to me very clearly. I think every business, which you concluded in our last conversation, has a product. And what the church does offer and people buy is hope.
Okay.
I
Now
go
that's
there.
hope.
I go there to
Does
get my weekly injection,
uh-huh.
and I trade in my money for weekly injection for my weekly hope injection. And by doing so, I give the pastor whatever it is that he need because he keeps me going.
Oh, so
Another.
let me understand what you're saying. I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. So you go to church on a weekly basis to get
Yep.
your weekly injection, right?
Yep. Hmm.
And after you get your weekly injection, you go and pay what you can barely live on to that entity. Can I say entity?
I can.
So that, hold on. So now that entity or the person that is running that entity, because always remember the saying, own nothing but control everything. So then that entity can go buy airplane, red bottom shoes, tailor-made suits.
Can I take a quick moment to look at the net worth of some of the top pastors? Give me a second on that.
Absolutely.
How crazy was that? Do you see what those incomes were? And so to actually answer your question, yeah, I guess they are the top. I guess they are the CEOs. I guess they are the Tim Cooks and the Warren Buffetts of
Hmm.
the church world.
So again, let me ask my question again. So are you saying why you go to church and get your weekly injection and give what you can hardly live on in the first place? So you just said the CEO can fly around the world while you struggling, while you have to maybe go to a soup kitchen. That's okay.
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
What I'm saying to you is this, and let me be clear with this: I don't play it by God. I don't play it by His institutions. But what I do have a problem with, and what I think most people who are critical have a problem with, is the fact that the black community, if you look at the stats, and I'll show the stats soon, live in poverty. The net worth of the black household is going to be zero. That's what they say. That's what they forecast. By 2050, while the black church leaders are getting richer by the day. And with that, even though they serve a purpose, which is keep our people eyes on God, which is nothing wrong with that. I would never argue against that. But their eyes on the money and God. And so why aren't they making sure that their congregation, their constituents, if I may say, are also living some type of life that doesn't look like they crying and they have to get that weekly injection in the church on Sunday just to keep going. That's what I'm saying.
Isn't it interesting? I don't want to ask that question just yet. A person and or entity that has an accountant to their own speed dial, what do you think the wealth of that person is like? If you have your accountant on speed dial,
Most likely seven figures. Most likely. I mean, at least over 500,000
okay,
annually income.
okay. So let me ask you this. If Jesus walked around with an accountant, according to the word, ooh, say it again. If Jesus walked around with an accountant, would you kind of conclude that it's sinful to be poor? And would you kind of conclude that it's not only sinful to be poor, but it's also sinful of the people to not teach prosperity, but to teach gimme, gimme, gimme?
So I'm not going to pretend that I'm a
Again, hold
Bible.
on, hold on. I'm not saying all churches. So please forgive me because I do know some churches that do very well by their congregation. I do know some personally, one that I personally belong to. So I'm not mentioning all churches, but I'm just going by what we're seeing on TV, what we're seeing on the news. Um, some churches that I've visited. I've been to a church in Michigan, um, in other parts of the country, 30,000 congregation, and they got a doggone mailbox to drop your offerings and tithes there. Go ahead.
So to answer your question, I'll answer it in this manner. So Jesus talked in parables.
Hmm.
In one of the parables that is very commonly told or spoke about, is the parable when Jesus say, I believe it was a king that gave three men money, and then he went elsewhere. One man buried it, one man multiplied it by two, another man multiplied it by 10. The man that
The
multiplied it
talents.
by, hmm?
The talents. The talents. The three men with the talents.
Correct, right?
Hmm.
And so when I think about that, what that means to me is this. No, you're not supposed to be living hell on earth. In other words, that's what you're pretty much asking me, dude. If you're struggling, if you're living in poverty, you're kind of living hell on earth, depending on, if you gotta, I mean, we live in America. You see that most people, if you have to rob Peter to pay Paul, which is weird that saying is even there, because that's two characters from the Bible, right? But if you got to
Hmm.
rob Peter to pay Paul, then you're really not living a good lifestyle. But what it means to me is this, right? Why was that king in the first place giving out the talents? And if the king was giving out the talents, shouldn't that be responsibility of the church to give out the talents and see how the people can be able to multiply it within the congregation?
Or is the church's responsibility to not only give out the talents, but before you give the talents out, teach the people how to multiply. Because see, can you imagine if the church taught the people how much more money the church will have? Because the people will be extremely comfortable, and the church will probably have 10 times more. But if you already giving away 10%, watch this. You're giving away 10% on what you can't live on anyways.
On
Which I
tithes.
get it. Tithes, okay?
Hmm.
Then they
Tithes.
want an offering. And then if there's a special event or something going on, they want another offering,
Or building fund.
building fund. Or if there is a guest speaker, they want a little money for the guest speaker. All of that. But imagine this. The church has actually made it non-negotiable to be a part of this congregation. Ooh, watch this. To be a part of this congregation, you have to learn what prosperity is really like so you can help your family and build generational wealth. And what do you think is going to happen with the church?
Can I
That
ask you a
church is
question?
going to go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Hmm.
So you're saying most people have loyalty to a church, right?
Absolutely.
You're saying that most people are going to support the church not only with their body but with their pockets as well, right?
Absolutely.
And you're saying that we are on the show brick by brick, right?
Hmm.
So if people are they have their allegiance to a certain church, maybe they could have a requirement that not only do they learn financial literacy, but is also a church fund that actually give back to the congregation for being a member of that church, since you already have an allegiance and you give me
Hmm.
your time and your money. And so the reason I bring that up is I'm not in the business of bashing anybody. I don't care how bad it seems. I don't care. I mean, we can sit on here and we could talk about the president of the United States. We could talk about, some of these crazy celebrities. We could talk about all the bad in the world, right? But we're talking about what's close to our heart, right? Black people. That's what we are. Black church, that we both attend a black church, right? But we also look at the poverty levels. You're asking me, what if the requirement of the church is sort of like a subscription service? If you want to be part of the church, you give money. But part of giving that money, we give back to you, not only financially, but education wise at the same time. Because you're giving your money, then we multiply that money for you. and now it actually beneficial for you to actually attend this church?
To be a deacon in the church, you have to take classes, right?
Hmm.
If I have to take a class to be a deacon in the church, why can't there be classes to help me with my prosperity? Because see, we blame we blame the people. Well, that's something that they got to learn. They should know how to do this. They should take classes on this and that and that and this. If you could force classes for certain things in your church, you should be able to force the number one thing to help the people economically. That's having classes on prosperity. Not everyone is going to be on the same level as far as finances, but give them some understanding. Start with, what do you start with? Start with liabilities and assets. If they just understood that right there, because most people don't understand a liability and an asset. If you ask the average person in the church of God, is your house a liability or asset? I guarantee 9.9% of them is going to say their house is an asset. So then my second question is, if your house is an asset, how much is your house paying you? Ooh,
Can I ask you a
ooh.
question? Can
Go
I
ahead.
ask you a question? And it's a deep question right here. Do you think the pastor, if do you think that the congregation, excuse me, let me ask this. Do you think if the pastor was to be able to ask the church to contribute the same amount that people contribute to their 401ks, do you think that people will actually abandon their 401ks and give it to the church?
Ooh.
Okay. Okay, I'm going
Okay.
somewhere with this. I'm going somewhere
Okay.
with this. I'm going.
Listen, I'm not touching that ass. I have my thought behind it, but I'm gonna let you go run with that one.
Okay. Okay. No. I get it. I'm going somewhere with this. Okay. And I want to end it with this. This is a really thought provoking question I'm thought about. This is a thought provoking scenario that came to my head. The average person makes 40K a year. The average person average about 10% of their income into that fund.
Correct.
That's $4,000.
Hmm.
If you have a congregation with 20,000 people, let's say, and each person is given $4,000 a year, is that about $8 million?
All day long.
And if $8 million is multiplied in the S&P 500 by average of 10%, and we're not even talking about none of the other different things they could do, but if it grows
Eight
by at
hundred thousand
least
dollars a year.
$800,000 a year, and you're a
Hmm.
member of that church for 20 years, could that serve as a
As your
stable
retirement.
retirement fund for
Absolutely.
grandma that's sitting at the front of the church in a big hat?
Absolutely.
Can that serve as the funeral fund? $10,000 for when somebody die and they refuse to get life insurance.
Hmm.
So I'm not trying to start up anything here, but I'm just maybe stirring the pot a little bit so we can be able to have some real conversations about how we can actually build back our community the proper way. Because I can tell you, being in the banking world, most people don't know what a 401k is. Just like you just said, most people don't even know what their house or is an asset or a liability. Most people don't know what a 401k is. They know they want to retire one day. They know they don't want to work all day, and they are a member of the church. So what if
Right.
they can be able to transform $4,000 into 26 payments, because most people get paid bi-weekly.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a little over 100 something bucks every 2 weeks
Every
that they
two
can just
every
get.
2 weeks. And wouldn't it be interesting? Watch this. Because of the size of the congregation, if you have a congregation over 100, you can do this. Every church out there, put just a little life insurance policy on their members to help their members. So now, if certain members don't have life insurance policies, they got a little money for them. If the member does have a little life insurance, if the member has their own life insurance policy, that's okay, because we have one for you as well.
Do you know? And I work in insurance. Go ahead.
Jobs do it. I can guarantee most employers has a life insurance policy on you, and you don't even know it.
Come on now. Come on now.
Okay.
And hold on, let me ask you a question. Do you know what the requirement is for you to have a life insurance policy on somebody?
I don't.
I'll tell you. You must have some
Oh,
type
wait, hold on. We go break right there. Tune in for part 3.
And thank you for tuning in to Brick by Brick with David Reed and Terrell Clayton. We'll holler at you next time.
Blessings to everyone.
Later.